Tulsa's News and Talk.
It's the KRMG Morning News with Dan Potter. Let's dive into the results of yesterday's Super Tuesday primary with Oklahoma Republican U.S. Senator James Lankford. Morning, Senator Lankford.
Hey, good morning to you as well.
Things went, I think, more or less as expected after the dropouts of Pete Buttigieg and Tom Steyer over the weekend, and the moderate core of the Democratic Party, I guess, if you can call it that, solidifying around Joe Biden. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, it was very interesting to be able to see. Michael Bloomberg spent $500 million and walked away with 46 delegates and did not perform well nationwide. There are very few places that he actually performed well or broke even 15% of the vote there. And after $500 million in spending and all of his staff, that was a bit of a surprise to be able to see. Bernie Sanders won Oklahoma pretty handily in 2016, but obviously was beaten pretty handily by Joe Biden last night in Oklahoma. So there were some interesting things that we saw.
A lot of people not feeling the burn anymore. Do you think, after winning California at least, Bernie Sanders has any path to victory at this point, or is this Joe Biden's to lose now?
So it has been Joe Biden's to lose from the very beginning. If you go back to the earliest days, that was the common statement. This is Joe Biden's to lose. He was the presumptive front runner. And then obviously everything fell apart. We're back to that spot again after South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Bernie Sanders definitely has a path to victory at this point. There are multiple states that he will continue to do well in, but there's obviously quite a few states that Joe Biden will be very strong in. So I think we're going to see at least another month of this race. There are another 1,000 delegates up in March. And so through the rest of this month, we'll watch quite a few races happen March 10th, March 17th. It'll keep going for a while, and we'll get to a lot more clarity by the end of the month.
I know this is really early to even be having this talk, but do you think Joe Biden has a couple of people in mind already for a running mate?
Well, I would assume there's at least some cabinet officials that have already been named here, and Pete Buttigieg and Beto and Amy Klobuchar. That's pretty clear as well. Drop out 2 days or 1 day before Super Tuesday, especially for Amy, where the one race she was really expected to win was Minnesota, her home state. For her to drop out the day before and not even get a chance to be able to do that vote, I would assume we've seen some cabinet members there.
Senator, if there were one of those two, Sanders or Biden, you think would be a bigger challenge to the president in the general election, which would it be?
Really, really difficult to tell. What's interesting is Bernie Sanders' rhetoric is a lot more caustic, but actually their policies, except in a few areas like healthcare, are actually really similar. So there's a lot of similarities between the two in policies. Their style is different. The healthcare has been the most obvious, where Vice President Biden continues to come out and say that he wants to expand the Affordable Care Act. And obviously Bernie's come out and said over and over again he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act and do Medicare for all and do a dramatic change there. So that's a pretty dramatic difference between the two. But otherwise, policy-wise, they're actually really similar.
Was that a call to a vote that I heard just a moment ago?
That is actually, I'm moving through the tunnels heading into the Capitol right now. And it's not a call to a vote, but is one of those trains going past me at this point underground.
I got to tell you just quickly before I let you go, I finally caught your TV interview with Tulsa attorney and author Hannibal Johnson about the 1921 race massacre. Oh, yeah. Is there anything you don't do well? You're an incredible interviewer. It was really interesting.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. But Hannibal's a great one to be able to interview. He makes an interview like that simple to be able to walk through those issues. He is a walking encyclopedia on that race massacre. And so it was very helpful to be able to just go pick his brain. And he and I have talked multiple times over the years. And so to be able to sit down with a friend and say, okay, let's just kind of talk through some of the things we've already talked about before was a fun interview to be able to do.
Yeah, I encourage people to search for that. Just Google James Lankford and Greenwood, and you'll find it there on YouTube, his interview with Hannibal Johnson. Senator Lankford, thank you.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
Oklahoma Senator James Lankford at the Capitol, 726, Fox 23, KRMG meteorologist.